If you're in the market for a new gaming keyboard and maybe have some interest in the whole mechanical keyboard space, then I've got something worth shedding some light on. This is the Vissels V84 Pro that was sent to me, and honestly, I've really enjoyed using it. With its linear switches and PBT keycaps, it makes for a compelling option at $109, which is comparable to other gaming keyboard options. It can serve as a nice entry point to custom boards with it being hot swap, but right off the bat, I do want to say this is not an enthusiast board. It won't be super thocky, but if you just want a solid keyboard to play some games with, this really could be the one. I've been using it and we'll be reviewing it completely stock, unmodded, so you know exactly what you're going to get straight out of the box. Looking at the box though, you'll see a striking resemblance to another keyboard brand. No names, but yeah, this is like the ultimate, can I borrow your homework if I just change it up a bit? Actually, no, I lied. We're going with names here. This looks a lot like the Keychron K2, which I guess isn't a bad thing because it is a very nice board. It's actually the first mechanical one I ever owned. And I will say that if you're looking at the K2, then this, in my opinion, is a much better option. When you finally figure out how the hell to open this thing, you will see a manual and quick start guide. You also get a wrist rest, which is a nice addition. I'm sure some of you will use it, but honestly, it's just not that comfortable, and I think the default angle is perfect. If you want some added height, you have these feet extenders, is what I'll call them. You just slap them on the bottom of the board and they work really well. Additionally, you get these adhesive grip feet that'll just stop the keyboard from gliding around your desk. I do like that they included a microfiber cloth with the keys being all white, but they've stayed pretty clean in all my use. The cable is nothing special, it's just your basic cheap USB-C to A. I definitely recommend picking up a custom one if you do plan to use the board wired. You also get a keycap puller and some extra keycaps for Windows because the ones installed stock are for macOS. Lastly, you get a switch puller because this board is hot swap, meaning that you can pop out the switches if you want to try out new ones, which is really awesome for people getting into this hobby to really figure out what it is you like. I've used tactiles exclusively for years, but trying linears for the first time, I really like them and plan to get some nice ones in a future custom build. As I mentioned, the keycaps are all white and have a real nice look to them. It makes the board look super sleek on the desk, but I'm not the biggest fan of the font they're using here on the modifier keys. The board is a 75% layout, which has to be my favorite just because it serves as that perfect middle ground for like work from home and gaming. Basically, you get all of the media keys, which comes in clutch with wanting to skip a song or turn up the volume, then also having the arrow keys, which I like a lot for programming. These keycaps are made of double shot PBT and have a very nice feel to them. They took a little getting used to just as I was so accustomed to using the ABS ones for my Keychron Q1, but I definitely like the grippier texture for when I'm gaming. Overall, they're solid, and whether you are gaming or typing, I think these will be very nice, but of course you can always just go and grab a new set to change up the look. But worth taking into account is the fact that on here we have north facing switches, which can actually cause some interference if you go for cherry style keycaps. I gotta say, this is probably the biggest downside in terms of customization for the board, just because you have to do some extra research to make sure the keycaps that you want will be compatible. But if you're just looking for a new gaming keyboard and aren't too crazy about mods right now, then just disregard this. With that aside, Vissels has their custom made VS2 linear switches in here, which I'm a very big fan of. I've used Gateron Browns for years and just recently got Holy Pandas for my Q1 build, and this is quite the difference. Tactiles definitely still have a place in my heart when it comes to typing, but these linears, man, ooh, they are super smooth and quick to actuate, which I much prefer when gaming. I don't hate them for typing, but they don't give me that feedback that I really do like to have while writing scripts. The stabilizers though aren't great, and with the plastic build of the board, you do get a sort of hollow sound and some slight pinging. It's not really possible to open up the case and do a silicone sheet mod like I did with the Q1 because of the ping, which is very annoying. But of course, don't just take my word for it. Let's have a listen. I don't know. What do you guys think? I like the sound, but this isn't something that I'm going to buy for that thockiness. Like, it feels nice for gaming, and I really like it for that. But when it comes to, enthusiasts, it's not going to be your best option. Luckily, though, with Hot Swap, you can switch those out to get something more of your liking. I do find the stabs to be better than the ones on the K2, but the spacebar is still a little rattly. So if you were to make any modifications to the V84 Pro, I think this really should be it. All thockiness debate aside, the design here is a real strength. The white keycaps go so well with the black casing and make for a great addition to the gaming setup. It just looks so good on the desk. The board is very compact, which is great considering you still have the full function row and arrow keys. This is one of the things I don't like about gaming with the Q1, just because I sort of like to have that smaller profile. Vissel seem to not only take some inspiration from Keychron here, but also Royal Kludge, as it's pretty much the same casing as the RK84, though it does have the improved switches and keycaps. The build quality overall is solid. It's made of plastic, so it's not super premium, but it still has some weight to it, coming in at 813 grams. The outer casing can be removed, which I found out by dropping it. I'm not the biggest fan of this look, but it does give you a clear view of the switches and lighting. While this board is similar in design to the K2, it's nowhere near as bulky, which I think makes it look better overall. Now for the feature that matters the most for gaming, RGB. Of course, this couldn't be a gaming keyboard without all that lighting. There is software you can download to configure it, but it's really bad, so just to change the effects, press the function key and home to toggle between the 19 effects, and then function and N to cycle between the different colors. To adjust the brightness, you press function and either up or down on the arrow keys, or you can use the F5 and F6 keys. What I've noticed is that while the backlighting is bright, it has a bit of a tint to it with the way the keycaps are designed. It's most notable in a low light environment where the top of the keys will be lit, where the rest isn't. All of the RGB effects you want are there, but I always just stick with a static color, and that's worked well for me. The lighting is set to auto turn off after just a few minutes, which is good for preserving battery, but sometimes I still want the lighting to complete the look of the desk, so I just wish there was a way to play around with this. Something else I've encountered is that once the board gets to low battery, it'll still function normally, but the lighting turns off after about a minute or so, and then won't come back until after you've charged. Speaking of, battery life isn't anything crazy, but you can expect to get roughly around a week or so of life, which is what I've been getting with the lighting turned on. Charging is all done through the USB-C port at the back, but what is annoying is that you can see the spots where there could be USB-A pass-throughs that are just blocked off. That's definitely a feature that would be nice to see, and I'm not a huge fan of having it all offset to the right like this. I would have much preferred it being in the center. If you're planning to use it wired, I highly recommend getting a coiled cable because it looks so much nicer than that crappy USB cable that's included. It really tops off the whole design and is especially something you want if you plan to get some custom builds in the future. Opting to go wireless, your only option is over Bluetooth, as there is no proprietary USB dongle. Though I've had no issues with connectivity and games have still felt very responsive. You can connect multiple Bluetooth devices, up to 5, but I just have 2 for both my Mac and PC, and switching between them is as simple as hitting function and either Q or W, and it's actually really quick. To change the layout for whatever OS you're using, you need to hit function and A for Windows or S for Mac. I much prefer having a physical switch like we've seen from Keychron, but this still does the job. Wrapping all that up, I really think the Vissel's VD4 is a solid option at just over $100, but I really would only recommend it to a certain number of people. If you want a wireless keyboard that'll be great for gaming, this could be the one, and if you are interested in getting into mechanical keyboards, potentially looking to get your first one, this is a nice entry point. I hate Cyberpunk so much. Especially with it being hot swap, allowing you to get a feel for some other switches. The VS2 linears included stock are pretty nice, they've been really smooth and I've loved them for gaming, but the stabilizers in here are not great, and the plastic build does make for a slightly pingy sound. You can't really open up the case to make any sort of mods to the sound, and the north-facing switches can pose some issues when it comes to cherry profile keycaps. The PPT ones included are nice, and the grippy texture they have is something I'm a big fan of. Where recommending it becomes really hard for me is if you're an enthusiast or more interested in really modding your board, because for $60 more, you can get the Keychron Q1, which is a fully pre-built custom 75% board that is just killer for that price. If that sounds more like you, I have made some content about the Q1, which I'll link down below. With all that, I'm interested in what you guys think about this board and whether it'll be making a feature in your setup. But either way, I've been Cole, I hope this review is helpful, and I appreciate you all for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Get off me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Okay? Never let me deal with that ever again. This game gives me anxiety.